This is a fan-generated show. If you'd like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our new Rumble channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm thrilled to announce the release of my new book, Obama's True Legacy: How He Transformed America. There's a reason why Mike Huckabee calls it a ferocious and chilling read. Order it now at Amazon.com or at FrontPageMag.com. Thank you, and may God bless you. Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov Gang. Tonight, inside the Israel-Hamas war. With us this evening, Edwin Black, the award-winning New York Times and international investigative author of 11 books, including his bestsellers IBM and the Holocaust and The Farhud, Roots of the Arab-Nazi Alliance in the Holocaust. He's also the host of the Edwin Black Show. Edwin Black, what an honor to have you here.
Well, thank you, Jamie. It's always a pleasure to be with you. It's been too long. I know you're doing excellent work.
A compliment can never go too far. I wish I could ask you to give me some more compliments, but we have some very serious issues to discuss. Edwin, that was such a short introduction that I've made of you, and you're a great man. You've done a lot. Could you just add a little bit to the intro, because you've done so much?
Well, I've done a lot, and people can find out more about me at edwinblack.com. And I have a show, as you said, which can be discovered at theedwinblackshow.com. And we cover a lot of the hot button issues that you're also interested in. And amongst my books are the ones that you mentioned, IBM and the Holocaust, The Farhud, Nazi Nexus, Financing the Flames, which revealed the salaries that terrorists receive thanks to our taxpayer money. Right now, I'm on a war footing, and I'm very, very focused on the same things that you are focused on. And otherwise, I wouldn't be doing an interview at 9:30 at night in Washington just a few hours after I did my show. So I think you're doing a lot of very important work, and I'm here to help.
Thank you, Edwin. Well, it's I don't even really know what words to use. It's a scary time. It's a sobering time. It's a heartbreaking time. And what can you say? Why don't I just hand this over to you? Just the horror that happened in Israel recently with what these Hamas terrorists did, and this is Nazism all over again, but of a different stripe and brand. But let me hand it over to you. What happened and what's going on in your perspective?
Well, I think it's vastly beyond Nazism. As you know, I've studied the Holocaust for 50 years, and you have as well. And this is a degree of ghoulishness where babies were vivisected while live. People were dismembered live, tied together and burned to death, roasted. But I had to invent a new word for this. And the new word is homicide, HAMSIDE, because this is even beyond ISIS, because we've never seen this level of human ghoulishness. In fact, not even human. So we all know that there have been horrible videos that have pierced our hearts. The unfortunate and damning for me thing is that I predicted it in June. On the Edwin Black Show, we observed International Farhud Day. I wrote my book, The Farhud, about the similar slaughter on June 1st, 1941. And I asked, where would this happen next? And we just released that episode edited. I said, would it be in Morocco? Could it be in Syria, Tunisia? I said, no. To the surprise of everyone, I said, it'll be in Israel and the United States. And so the Farhud, all the language is the same. I talk about this pogrom done on June 1st, 1941, in conjunction with the Nazis, where babies were killed in front of their parents. Parents were killed in front of their babies. Women were raped. Children were dismembered, and lo and behold, all the language is the same, and it's horrible to it. It's painful to be vindicated in this way. And today, we scheduled a episode, and we did it, called Kristallnacht 2.0. And it's our third installment, because I believe this is coming here. I believe, and I have believed for some time, that if the wrong people are elected, there will be the Jews of the United States will be dispossessed. They will be prosecuted. They will be pauperized. They will be eminent domained. They will be farad, and this will so dislodge the Jews, and so many will wonder about their status. Then will come this violent upheaval that I call Kristallnacht 2.0. Well, it turns out that the violence is here already. The Jews are being locked in the Cooper Union lunchroom. At Cornell, they're threatening to decapitate them and to rape the women openly on social media. At Harvard, they're all they're beating up on law students, and it's other law students at Harvard Law School. And this has shown the utter depravity and uselessness of our collegiate community, our institutions of lower education, of lower learning. Harvard, Princeton, Yale, UCLA, these were all masters of genocide during the eugenic days before World War II. And I've never studied a genocide that has taken place in the last 200 years that is not originated on the college campus. And here we see it coming, and the monsters are out of the basement. They are marching into Crown Heights in New York. They're not just protesting, they're running wild, they're demanding blood, and they're being protected by these schools. They're being enabled by these schools. They're being facilitated by our own tax laws, and we have to do something about it right now.
Well, I mean, Edwin, Biden and Kamala Harris are doing something about it right now. They've come forward and they're going to fight Islamophobia. It's a little bit surreal that at a time like...
That's nonsense. It's not the Muslims who are locked up in Cooper Union. It's not the Muslims who are afraid to go to Washington Park. It's not the Muslims who are afraid to go to class. The Jews aren't attacking the Muslims. Yes, there was a young boy who was tragically murdered by a Polish Catholic in central Illinois. That maniac will spend the rest of his life in jail. But the fact of the matter is, the emergency now is not the Jews or anyone else attacking the Muslims. It's the Muslims attacking the Jews. It's the Palestinians attacking the Jews. And they have infiltrated our society and the Black community to prejudice the Black community, to solidify against the Jewish community. And this is very serious. And today on my show, we had eminent attorneys like Nathan Lewin, who has always believed that the law was the refuge of the Jewish people in America, that the law would protect us. And now he says, that's no longer the case. I've changed my mind. And that's because the law students are infiltrating the courts. They're becoming clerks. They're handling all the projects for the for the judges. We're gonna edit that and have it out within a couple of weeks. So if the cops are defunded, if the prosecutors are not prosecuting, if the judges are no longer judging, if the legal system fails, and these guys are going to run rampages in the streets, before I thought that they would. I thought they would wait till 2025, and I was wrong. I was vindicated in that it would happen, and it's no longer a distant threat. It's no longer a possibility. It's a clear and present danger. It's not around the corner. It's not over the horizon. It's down the street and approaching our driveway.
And they're going to do exactly the same thing here, which they just did in Israel.
Or what they did in Dagestan, where thousands of them went door to door in the hotels looking for Jews. They broke all the doors down and compared the passport photographs. They ran across the tarmac. They searched every corridor of the airport looking for Jews. They found one guy who they suspected. I don't know if he was or was not. I saw them crush his skull with a large piece of concrete. I saw them just hold the guy down, and then another guy crushed his skull. They're talking about murdering the Jews here. They're standing in defense and defiance of Hamas. Any of these foreign students who have infiltrated our campus should be immediately removed because they have violated their visa. Get their visa revoked. And I've got a few other ideas on what we need to do. But the first thing we need to do is tell our own people what the heck is going on.
And there's a lot of willful blindness even till now. Edwin, I was going to say maybe there's some hope, because with Biden opening up the border and the tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people coming in, I think that all these people are just mostly doctors and lawyers and professionals who want to contribute to our society. That's my attempt at a sense of humor during this tragic time. But, you know, the intelligence says, and the reports say, that Hamas, Hezbollah, and a lot of these jihadis, among other people like Chinese nationals, etc., but we've got a lot of dangerous people that don't mean us well that have been coming through the border, right?
We have tens of thousands of individuals from what they call special attention countries, Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Lebanon. They've already been apprehended, but we have 600 to 900,000 gotaways. Nobody knows anything about them, and if just 1/10 of 1% of those gotaways happen to be terrorists, and we already know that the terrorists apprehended now are on the terror list are at record levels. If just 1/10 of 1%, that's 90 guys. It only takes 11 to help paralyze this country. And everyone I'm talking to, and I just came back from a tour of Dallas and Tampa. The Jews are petrified. They don't know what the heck to do. They don't know who to rely on. And we need to take action fast. If you'll give me a minute, I think what we need to do most is inform our people of the facts. We are surrounded by a geodesic dome of lies. We are not occupying Gaza, and we have not occupied Gaza. Occupation is not illegal. The United States occupied Berlin with AMGUS, the OMGUS, Occupation Military Government, United States. We occupied Japan. We set up a provisional government in Baghdad. The only thing that international law commands if such a thing exists. The only thing that commands is our conduct once occupation occurs. But the term occupation itself under international law, which is itself a maze of deceptions, is that it occurs as of the Hague Regulations 1907, Article 42. It occurs only when a military force exerts its civilian authority over a territory, and it ends when they leave. It's not even about military presence. It's about civilian authority. So if you think about this, the Israelis left in 1905 and 2005 and 2006. The territory was turned over to the Palestinian Authority under international accord, namely Oslo. And then there was an election, and Hamas got a plurality, not a majority. What did they do? They took over. They grabbed 300 guys from the rival party, that was Fatah. They shot them in the knees. They tied their hands behind their back. They took them up to the rooftops, and they killed them all. So it's Hamas that is exercising authority and military power over Gaza, not us. And in terms of effective control, well, that's Iran, who supports the Hamas agenda to the tune of 93% of its finances. And the rest is coming through UNRWA. So it's a geodesic dome of lies. We're not occupying. There are refugee camps. We have fake refugees in fake refugee camps that are supported by a fake refugee agency as part of a fake body of world peace. So they're in Gaza, just like they're in Ramallah and Jenin. Why don't they just pick themselves up and walk across the street and have a Starbucks? Why do they have to stay in a refugee camp? Now, my parents were in a refugee camp, in a DP camp in Germany, under international law, under custom. When you reach a country of safe harbor, you're no longer a refugee. I was born in Chicago. I'm no longer a refugee. But there's a separate set of rules for Palestinian men, and actually Arab men who were born in Palestine. We'll get to that in a minute. There was a separate set of rules. You get your own agency called UNRWA. That's the UN Relief and Works Agency. And all of your descendants for eternity become refugees. So even if a person of Palestinian descent was born in Los Angeles and lives in Los Angeles, he has refugee status and refugee rights. And I say that these refugees are just being kept there for public consumption. It's this culture of victimhood. So we have a fake refugee and a fake refugee camp that exists only for television, that's supported by a fake refugee agency and a fake body of world peace. The United Nations has now proven that, like the League of Nations before it, its parent organization, it has now achieved the nadir of its irrelevance. The United Nations was established by 5 countries. Yes, the US, France, and England, but also Stalinist Russia, Maoist China. They had no interest. That's the P5. They had no interest in peace, in liberty, and democracy. All they did was decolonize and create new countries that they could dominate. And there's one country that they specialize in attacking, and that's Israel. The League of Nations was established to help the Allies after World War I create colonies in the Middle East, dismember the Ottoman Empire, and lay oil lines. And that's why all these nations were created in the Middle East where none existed. They were just tribes. The League of Nations was supposed to end all wars. It did nothing to stop the invasion of Ethiopia. It did nothing to stop the rape of Nanking. It did nothing to stop the Spanish Civil War. It did nothing to stop any aspect of the Third Reich, the deprivation of rights, the invasion and occupation of Europe, the genocide across Eurasia. It did nothing to stop any of that. And then it spawned this United Nations, which is completely irrelevant. They wouldn't even, when Egypt and Israel signed the disengagement pact, they wouldn't even establish a peacekeeping group within there because they opposed peace. And that's why the United States State Department and other Western groups established a peacekeeping group called the MFO, the Multi-Forces, the Multinational Forces and Observers. And I was one who visited there. So the United Nations has done nothing to stop the Chinese genocide against the Uyghurs, has done nothing to stop the Russian rape of Ukraine. And to top it off, today, the UN Human Rights Commission is now being headed by Iran. They have the worst abusers of human rights. So there's no purpose of this organization existing except to increase the catering bill in Manhattan. The Czech representatives have already said it's useless. Let's get out of here. Trump actually took us out of most of the UN, and Biden put us back in, because even though Biden, believe me, supports, defends, and loves Israel, he's an empty suit running an out-of-control administration which is racked from wall to wall and top to bottom with Jew-hating anti-Semites. And they hate this country, and they have hijacked the Democratic Party, and that's what we're facing now. And this is why we're in the situation we are. And it all goes downhill from here.
Edwin, thank you for being such a truth teller. It's, I don't know ultimately what will have to be done to open most people's eyes. I think a very large number of people would rather go to their death than get rid of their illusions and delusions. But that's a subject maybe for another time or down the road here. You're doing so much important work. One thing, I'm researching you, watching everything you're talking about. One thing maybe that might open some people's eyes as to how serious it's getting. There is a mapping project in the Boston area where Jews are being identified, and Iran is behind this. I mean, this is mind-boggling. Tell us about this.
The mapping project was a secret project that has been exposed as an Iranian operation being run through MIT, and it identifies every Jewish person, institution, synagogue, company, organization in the greater Boston area, and it's got lines of connection to all of them. And just a few days ago, the complete database of Ashkenazi Jews was stolen from 23andMe, and Iran is behind it. No one could shut down the server because it's run out of a Scandinavian country, and they will not obey the court order. We don't know if there's 5 more, but this all ties in to Kristallnacht 2.0. This all ties into the rampage. Remember, when the Farhud took place, they painted the Jewish homes with symbols so that the marauders could go to their homes. we've got this now, and people are afraid. Do I take the mezuzahs off? Look, I was in Texas last week. I was in Don't Mess with Texas, and Texan Jews in Dallas were asking me, are there countries who will accept Jews from Texas? Where am I? Am I in a Polish ghetto, or am I in Don't Mess with Texas? I have another event in Dallas. I'm on the Glenn Beck show for an hour, and we're talking about it. Glenn and I are talking about it, and I'm getting emails like this one from Christian people in Fort Wayne and Kentucky and other places saying, we have basements to hide you in. We will hide you. And I'm saying, where am I? Am I in Anne Frank's Amsterdam? Mm. And then I flew to Tampa to USF. And just to have a Shabbat dinner at the Hillel, we had to be surrounded by a SWAT team, 6 members, heavily armed, a number of police vehicles, just so we could light candles, break bread, and pray and have an interfaith celebration of Shabbat. And I'm saying, where am I? Am I in Sderot, Israel, or am I in Tampa, Florida? And then I run into one of the universities that I shall not name. I was supposed to give a lecture. Is Israel an international law? And they said, please don't do it. We're afraid of what would happen if you give a lecture on international law. And I said, now I've given this lecture here numerous times before. I only thought it would be good to give some facts and context. And the reply was, I hope you're sitting down, Jamie. The reply was, at this time, facts will not be useful. What? Did I just hear from a leading American university that facts will not be useful? A few weeks ago, I gave a lecture at one of America's best known and highly regarded universities. Not one student knew what the Normandy invasion was. Not one student knew whether Dresden was a city or a new pastry. The colleges are churning out idiots, and they're taking these idiots and they're filling their minds with hate and entitlement to commit exactly the type of farhood that we have seen so many times in the Arab world. We saw it in 1929 in Hebron, when they they baked the baker in his own oven, where they sliced open the banker and burned his banknotes in his belly. We saw it in the Farhud. We saw it in Malot, where they slaughtered the children. We saw it with the Fogel kids, who were decapitated, and they ended up with $1 million bonus from the Palestinian Authority, which was 16% enabled by Joe Biden's turned on faucet of international aid. The monsters are out of the basement in the United States. The door is unlocked. They're not going back in. And even if they get silent, they will wait for their moment.
Absolutely. Thank you, Edwin. You know, it's incredible, just a lot of the leftists I've dealt with over the years, including leftist Jews, and when you talk about ignorance, and even right now I've been in some conversations with some people, and they're like, this includes some leftist Jews, and they're just like, oh, we just got to work things out. If we can just work things out. So I asked them, do you know what's in the Hamas charter? Blank look on their face, but it's not that they don't know. They also don't want to know. What's in the Hamas charter? Okay, so this chant, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. So if that's accomplished, a little question remains: where do the Jews go? So that's a call for genocide. When you ask them, have you heard of Sahih Muslim 6985, the genocidal hadith? What do you know about it? They don't know anything. There is so much ignorance and willful blindness on this issue, including willful blindness on behalf of the people who are going to be the first targets and are the first targets of this ideology, right?
Well, there's two aspects to this. The small aspect that reassures me, just a gram, and that is that so many Jews, including Jews I know, say that on October 6th, I was on October 6th, I was a liberal Jew, and October 7th, I am no longer a liberal Jew. We're
Wow.
hearing these people wake up and wonder what's going on. That people like Jamie Glazov and Edwin Black and a small army to our left and our right have been talking about this for years. But we're also seeing idiot Jews from If Not Now, and people who start off with these words that they have no right to use, speaking as a Jew and speaking as a rabbi. And when are you going to call a ceasefire? Let me tell you what a ceasefire is. A ceasefire is a hyphenated word. The Jews cease and Hamas continues to fire. That's a ceasefire. Just yesterday, and you know this, Jamie, a senior Hamas official went on TV and openly promised, we will do it not once again, we'll do it 3 or 4 more times again. And and they keep talking about innocent civilians in Gaza. If they're innocent civilians, Jamie, where are they? Let them open their mouth. Let them raise their hand. The world is listening. But what are they doing? 100 to 200,000 of the children in the UNRWA camps are learning to commit jihad, are hoping to become martyrs and shaheeds, and craving to kill Jews. And the mothers who lose their sons are saying, I'll have 2 more so they can kill more Jews. And I have a tape which I'm trying to get YouTube to let me add.
But Edwin, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's very important to stress they didn't just dream this stuff up. The Hadith and the Quran instruct them to do these things, and it's very important to stress that.
Well, there's crazy stuff in all the holy books, but they have chosen to magnify what you have said. They have made this their culture of death. And these mothers have said at their sons' funerals, yes, I need 2 more sons to kill Jews with their bare hands. And if they can't kill them with their hands, kill them with their teeth. And this is unending. And so I say, there's no innocent civilians in Gaza. There's no protest against Hamas in Gaza. We have combatants and non-combatants. And I will tell you this: there's going to be no stopping, and not any kind of a ceasefire until every single Hamas fighter, every single Hamas helper, every Hamas water boy is wiped from the face of the earth, and the word 2-state solution should not be uttered by anyone for at least a generation. You don't achieve the road to statehood over the decapitated heads of infants.
No, absolutely. Very powerful, Edwin. When you bring up these leftist Jews and all of a sudden overnight they're conservative Jews, okay, yeah, that's a good move there, I guess. But I just want to share with you that I have so much disdain for these people, because who empowered and empowers Hamas? It's Iran. Who gives money to Iran? Biden. Why is Biden in power? Because of the leftists in America that talked bad about Trump, that went to war against Trump, criticized Trump, went with all the propaganda against Trump, voted for Biden, verbalized support for Biden. If you were against Trump and you supported Biden and voted for Biden, your hands are drenched in the blood of the Jewish babies that were just put into ovens by those Hamas terrorists. And these leftists among us here in America, they are complicit and their hands are drenched in the blood of the victims of what happened. Do you agree with me?
Well, I would rather delete the Trump part of this, but anyone who has voted for Biden, who has enabled Biden, and remember, Biden is just an empty suit. He's just an old-time crooked politician who wants to know where's mine. Yes, he is protecting Israel. I'm telling you right now, over 150 military cargo planes landed in Israel just yesterday. Israel's got resupply of its Tamir missiles.
No, that's great, but because of Biden, a lot of funds and money was channeled to the Ayatollahs in Iran.
Listen, scores of millions of dollars and billions, excuse me. It's not just the 6 billion that you heard of recently. It's the relaxing of sanctions that allowed extraordinary amounts of oil money to be made off of the sale to China. We've had, when I talk about the monsters running on our streets, these streets were paved for them. These streets were made for them. The way was enabled for them. And these Jewish clowns from If Not Now and Not in My Name and all these groups, don't they understand? They're going to be the first one in the boxcar.
Yeah.
Who was killed first in this rape of the border villages? It was the peaceniks. It was the music revelers. It was the get back to nature and love your neighbor types. In fact, I can tell you right now that they want to kill the peaceniks first because they don't want any peaceniks around. And so one by one, these guys are going to realize that they will be victims too. But before they realize that, they're going to facilitate the further persecution of the Jews, the further endangerment of the Jews. And this is not part of the Arab-Israeli conflict. This is the hinge event of civilization. This is, and when it comes to the international laws of war and international law, I'll give you one from the good book right now, from Judges 15:8. Smite them hip and thigh. The Jewish people in Israel will not take a deep breath until every last Hamas individual is relieved of his position on planet Earth, and until that area is cleansed of terrorism. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what Biden says. It doesn't matter what Netanyahu says he might think about doing. There will be no stopping. There will be no pause. And there will be no rhetoric until Hamas is completely eradicated.
Well, that's our hope. That's our hope. Or, I mean, we hope that that will happen. Well, let's hope that
it's going to happen, whether it takes 6 days, 6 weeks, or 6 months. And then Gaza will have to be Hamasified in the same way that Iraq was de-Baathified and Germany was de-Nazified. And what kind of a government they're going to have after that, that's a whole different conversation. we don't need to pick their government. But until one of these people raises their hand, high or low, and says, I wish to live in peace, they are a complicit society, and Israel is not going to wait for anyone to come to their aid, because no one will come to their aid.
So, Edwin, I take it just from a comment or two you made that perhaps you and I disagree about Trump. That's for another show. I like Trump very much, support Trump, and we'll postpone that. But I think one thing that can't be denied is he did a lot of good things for Israel, including all those diplomatic talks that had started. And so these Saudi-Israel talks that in many ways had its roots in the Trump administration, I think that Iran, Hamas, and these jihadis are celebrating at the moment that because of what just happened, those Saudi-Israel talks have been abrupted, let's say. It's in Iran and Hamas's interests to make sure that Israel and the Saudis don't make peace, right?
Well, that was, first of all, we're not that far off on Trump. The only thing is I don't want to divert our discussion about Trump. I want to focus on the problem at hand. It was the precipitating factor. There were several of why this was done now. And one of the main reasons was that as an outgrowth of the Abraham Accords and as a continuation of the Trump policy of peace in the Middle East, you are correct. There was going to be, as they said, any day now, a magnificent peace between Saudi Arabia and Israel that would benefit the whole region and the whole world. They were talking about a super infrastructure from in India to Saudi Arabia, and from Saudi Arabia up through Israel, throughout South Europe, telecommunications, trucks, trains, peace, enjoyment, prosperity, and that endangered the permanent devils and ghouls that are represented in Hamas. And that is why they struck at this time, that to stop this peace train, that to stop this peace ship. And they've done it. Now, I'm not saying it's permanently done, because the Saudi family, at least MBS, has indicated in certain ways that talks can be resumed. Bahrain was falsely thought to have cut relations, and that did not occur. The UAE is still with us.
Edwin, thank you. I wish we had a couple hours to talk further, but we are running out of time. What would be your last message this evening to our audience and to Jewish people and non-Jewish people alike that are for freedom, for liberty, and don't want to live under Sharia and don't want to be the victims of jihad?
Well, one, we have to learn the truth amongst ourselves. That means you need to clone Jamie and you need to clone Edwin and get them out there. Second, we need lawyers. We need lawyers to go to stand with us, lawyers to go to the Brandeis Center, and other lawyers who can sue civilly, sign complaints. We need good plaintiffs, and we need to take action in every way we can. Get these guys deported. Get these guys under criminal sanction. Remember, if a foreign student has even committed a trespassing offense, he can be deported immediately. Cut off these universities. Close your checkbooks. Pull your kids out of there. Label these universities for what they are. They are the cesspools of hate and violence. And so my closing thought is we need to make an emergency plan. I've given you a few ideas, but it's not going to get better. Hear me. It is not, the problem will not subside. The problem may become quiet, but it will come back, and it will come back with a vengeance and a sword.
And we have to be prepared, lean on our faith, but also, engage in self-defense. Edwin Black, for those people on the edge of their seat right now, very inspired by you and supporting you, where can they come and check you out and follow your work?
Come to edwinblack.com or the edwinblackshow.com. You can see my books, my lectures, my various episodes. I've, of course, written for Jamie's publication, which is one of the fine ones. And I'm happy to work with anyone who is working for the cause of light against the sons of darkness.
Amen. Edwin Black, what an honor and a privilege to have such a noble and courageous truth teller and freedom fighter and a great scholar on my show. Thank you for everything that you do, and we hope that you'll come back on our show soon, okay?
Thank you, Jamie. I'll come back as soon as I can.
Thank you so much for everything that you're doing, Edwin. God bless you. Thank you for joining the Glazov Gang this evening. Make sure you're subscribed to our Rumble channel and press instant notifications. We'll see you soon on the Glazov Gang. Good night.